Hey friends, it's Melissa Morrow with Vintage Bee Design, and today I'm going to go through some of my little scrap projects. I'm going to start off with these two side tables that I knew I could make more money off of if I cut them apart than if I kept them together. So I decided to head over to the chop saw and eek, what's that? So my saw started sparking a little, and that's when I realized that these legs were actually screwed in. They are not a solid wooden piece. So the first task is going to be taking these legs off. So now that I've got that taken care of, I am going to go ahead and start this process again with going to the chop saw, making sure everything is lined up, and I'm just going to cut this metal edge off. And this will actually give me 4 feet to use, 4 little bun-like feet to use in a future project. I don't have anything lined up for that today, so I'm just going to go ahead and sort of envision how I want these legs cut down to get me the most usable pieces. And here I also have 4 old dining room legs. These are broken in some fashion, so the table was no longer functional. So my job here is just to decide how I want them cut down.
Gonna let the sun shine in today. I'm trying to make this darkness.
So as you can see, I got quite a lot of small pieces to use for a variety of projects. And in this case, I'm taking the drawer from one of those side tables, and I'm going to use these little ones as bun feet. Now, some of the cuts when you're doing these don't come out exactly perfect. And so what I'm doing is I'm using a pair of pliers, and I'm sort of nipping off these parts where it kind of broke before the cut actually went all the way through. It only seems to happen on some of these spindles. I don't know why exactly, but it's really easy to take care of. And then you can actually use sandpaper to get any more of it off of there. But honestly, it's pretty flush by the time you're doing it. And in this case, I'm actually turning it over so that part is on the inside of the underneath of the drawer, and there's like a little ledge, so it'll hang off of that and it'll be perfectly fine. It'll feel very level. So to secure the legs, the next thing I need to do is add some wood glue, and in this case I'm adding some Titebond 2. Anyway, I'm just putting some on the base, and I poured a little too much out, so I'm just sort of spreading it around to the others, and then I'll add some more to the third, and then I'm going to drill a pilot hole and secure this all with the screws that I actually took out of the table.
I'll paint with colors and I'll sing until my lungs give out. I'm gonna let the sun shine in today, and I will leave my windows open.
To ensure that the screw doesn't sit lower than the legs and make the whole thing wobbly, I am using a countersink bit, and this basically will just drill sort of a very shallow hole for the head of the bit to sit in.
I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way.
And finally, it is time to paint. And so I'm using some DIY white Swan, and I'm just going to go ahead and mostly give the inside edges a good coat. The inside the drawer is going to get 2 full coats. And then I'm going to go with some Salty Kiss by DIY paint. And this is a beautiful green, sort of bright and festive for this little holiday drawer that I'm going to use. Now I get asked a lot about which is my favorite decoupage medium, which works the best. In this case, I am going to use the decoupage medium by Redesign with Prima, and I'm using this on a couple of different projects today. And the reason that I'm choosing it is because it's really thick. Now I like different decoupage mediums for different papers, but in this case I'm using some of our napkins, and this is a nice heavy napkin, and I'm just using a scraper that I have from our vinyl and laying it out. Remember, when you're using napkins, you want to be sure to remove the second ply or the third ply. You want to get it down to a single ply, and then be very careful and gentle so you don't accidentally tear it. Moving on, I decided that actually I wanted to add some of the decoupage paper to the front of the drawer. So I'm painting over the Salty Kiss on the very front because it does look better when it has that nice bright white background. And I did give this 2 coats.
I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day. I'm gonna let the past be filled with smoke. And I will try to fix what has been broken.
Once your paper is completely dry, you can use some 220 grit sandpaper and sand it off the edges. You want to make sure to use a downward motion and not an up and down motion. This will keep your paper from pulling up anything that was running loose. Afterwards, I want to be sure to give the entire piece a good light sanding. I love a distressed look. So especially where I have these sort of raw edges of where the green and the white meet, I want to be sure to distress that, and it'll give me a cleaner looking edge and a more finished looking product.
The darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way.
So I said earlier that what I like about the redesign with Prima Decoupage Gel is that it is thicker. And the reason I chose it for this product is because after I apply this second coat where you go over the tissue paper, I'm gonna apply some glitter. I have some beautiful holographic glitter from Glitter Art, and it's a bunch of different glitter sizes. You've probably seen me use this on other projects before. And this is Florida. We don't get a lot of snow or anything blingy, but it is nice to have a little bit of sparkle in the season. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some on my piece. While I'm waiting for the glitter areas to dry, I'm going ahead and adding some liquid patina, which is a great decoupage medium as well, and it also is a nice top coat. One of the fun things about DIY paint is watching the color change. Anytime you add a top coat or wax, it is part of the freak out factor of this paint a little bit. It gets light and then it gets dark, and then it'll lighten a little bit more as it dries. So I'm not going to give you much of a chance to see the finished project on this one yet. I'm going to move straight into the next one because all of my pictures of the first project have my second project in it, and these are so fun. I kind of want to wait till the end for you to see the whole thing. So I'm taking some of these pieces that I cut earlier, and if you notice, I did drill a pilot hole in the top of them when I was drilling the pilot holes for the first project. So I'm just using some more of the DIY Paints White Swan, and I'm adding 2 good coats onto these spindles. Once I'm done painting them, I'm going to give them a nice distress using 220 grit sandpaper, just kind of all around them, showing off a little bit of the wood underneath. And look, I'm back with Prima's Decoupage Gel again, which I'm going to give these a really nice thick coat. And there is my Glitter Love glitter that I was using on the first project. We're going to go ahead and basically we're going to glitter up these little spindles. I am going to completely coat them in first decoupage gel and then glitter. After these have completely dried, I'm just going to use my hand and knock off any loose glitter. I will, when I'm all completely done with these, give them a little bit of a polyacrylic spray outside. Ready for the next exciting part? Okay, look at this. These are made for wreath making, but there's 3 little old school Christmas trees on here, and I could not be more excited about these when I saw them. And yes, we do have them for sale at vintagebedesign.com. So I'm just going to start by clipping these off. Now I'm going to add some hot glue, and I like to use Gorilla Glue. It really does work almost as well as wood glue, and I am just putting my little trees into the pre-drilled holes. And I'm going to repeat this for all of the 7 spindles that I have prepared. Sort of a little mass production line of holiday fun. Now I've got a package of Excelsior that I've actually had for several years, and I am going to hot glue that around the base. This is where I was thinking I didn't really need to paint the top because I'd be covering it with stuff, but maybe I should have. I don't know. You tell me at the end, should I have painted that or shouldn't I have? Can't wait to show you the finished product. This came out even cuter than I had it in my head. So you might want to be a little bit careful because this is a really easy way to burn yourself. I do have those little things that you put over your fingertips that kind of keep you from getting burned, but I never think to wear them. Now here is where we are back to the decoupage medium, and once again I'm using the Prima because it is super thick and I'm going to say gloopy. I don't know if that's a real word, but it's a word I like, and I'm kind of just shoving it on almost. I probably could have used a trowel almost for this, kind of just shoving it onto the Excelsior, giving a nice thick coating, and I will trim all those little wispies away as well. Then I am just going to shake my glitter into nice thick coats. I am using a little dish underneath, as you can see, and I'm just pouring it on. The dish helps to minimize the amount of glitter and lets you reuse some of it later, but yeah, this is definitely a messy project. And here they are. How cute are these? These have that retro vibe and a little bit of cottagecore. I couldn't be happier with this project. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think about it. And we are on to project number 3. I am going to use the A Maker's Studio Mesh Stencils. Again, I picked up this new pack that we just got in. We just ordered a ton of new ones. So if you love the mesh stencils, be sure to check out vintagebedesign.com for the mesh stencils and lots of other DIY. So I'm going to cut these apart. They fit almost perfectly on these cutting boards that I had in my stash. We have a market next weekend, so we are trying to bust out project. This is the perfect little fast project. I almost don't want to edit this because I just want you to see how quickly it goes. You're just going to pull this off the backing, and then we're going to lay it right on the cutting board, and then just sort of make sure to smooth it out, that there are no bubbles, and then we're going to get onto the stenciling, which is basically really more like screen printing than stenciling. Now I have chosen to use Dixie Belle's Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint, and that's because it has a primer and top coat all in one. So once I'm done just basically scraping this paint onto this mesh stencil and lifting it up, and once it's dry, it will be completely finished. I don't have to do anything else. Now, one of the secrets to getting a good result with these mesh stencils is to make sure that you remove all of the extra paint off your surface. This way it won't get clogged. And the pink painter's tape is really just to keep me from going off the edge. When you cut them, it doesn't leave much room on the sides, and I tend to be messy. Ah, look at that reveal. I mean, check it out. It is practically perfect with almost no work. If you don't think you're good at stenciling, give these stencils a try. I'm going to go ahead and do the next cutting board with the saying that was on the other side, and you can see the results on that one as well.
I'm gonna let the sunshine in the day.
Oh, and it never ceases to amaze me how beautiful it comes out. Now we're going to go ahead and give it some embellishment once it's completely dry. I'm going to admit that I did use a heat gun to make this happen a little bit faster. But first off, I'm just going to start off with a little bit of jute that I'm going to tie in a knot around the throat. And then I'm going to begin by trimming up some of my greenery.
The darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way.
Just like all of the DIY products, this stunning fall foliage, which is fall eucalyptus, is available at vintagebedesign.com.
I'm gonna let the sun shine in today. I'm trying to make this darkness go away. till my lungs give out. I'm gonna let the sun shine in today, and I will leave my windows open so that I can hear the sound of people talking.
So this was definitely a quick and easy project. I would love to know what you think. Do you like how the words and the eucalyptus really enhance these projects? Leave a note below. And now we are on to project number 4. I know we typically only get 3 in a video, but we're on to number 4. I was feeling especially crafty today, and the projects were really fast, which is always fun. So I am using DIY's paint in Little Black Dress, and I've painted the board, the sides and the top one good coat, and then I'm using my heat gun to add these little tiny half circles, which I have glued to the side with Gorilla Glue in my hot glue. Again, that is almost as good as using wood glue. And then I'm going to use some Little Black Dress to cover up those beads. We will need 2 solid coats on the beads and the entire surface. And I am having so much fun with the Maker's Studio stencils that we just got in. I thought I would give this piece a little bit of love with the stencils as well. And of course, with a company name of Vintage Bee Design, you know I love some bumbles. Let's check out this full stencil.
So I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sunshine in the day. I'm gonna let the past be filled with smoke, and I will try to fix what has been broken, and take this weight off my shoulders, 'cause I know yesterday ain't coming back. I'm gonna let the past stay in the cold. I will listen to the ocean, let its unsaid words be spoken, and I'll let my mind be carried by the waves. Oh, I will.
Uh-oh, what happened here? That's okay. We can fix this by just laying it down and going over it one more time. I didn't lift it all the way up, so this should work just fine. Only it didn't. This is clearly not correct. So let's analyze the situation and figure out what happened. In the meantime, the only thing left to do is to completely pull it off, dry it, and paint back over it. So there were a couple things that likely could have happened. One, my silk mineral paint was thicker than normal because the lid had been left cracked open, and so it had started to dry out. So it's possible that it didn't properly push through the mesh. I don't think that was it, because that should have affected the entire thing. The next possibility is that it was the round wasn't actually dry all the way, and that is the most likely thing that happened. So in some areas, when we lifted up the stencil, we actually lifted up some of the paint, or the paint got stuck into the holes when we pushed it down all the way. That's what most likely happened. So what I decided to do was completely clean and dry the stencil, and then I decided to use White Swan, which was in much better shape than my silk because the lid again was cracked open on my silk, allowing it to dry out. So I've gone over it with the White Swan after I've let this round dry for about an hour, and I really think that was the problem. And you'll see when we reveal, and I will tell you, I was holding my breath for this one, that it came out absolutely perfect. So all that's left to do is to touch up around the edges where the paint went through, kind of our stencil overlapped, and then I attached it to the base with some E6000, and I did take it outside to spray it with a little bit of poly just because I was running out of time. I would love to hear what you think about the projects. Please leave a comment below letting me know which one was your favorite. And of course, if you love this kind of content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share my YouTube channel with some of your friends that are crafty, because we're still trying to grow. And I will see you again next week. Thanks so much for spending your time with me.